On a day when the president announced a national emergency that he even said isn't a national emergency, here's something that is actually a growing emergency. It's something the president tweets sarcastically about, mistaking climate change for weather on a regular basis. But there have been dire warnings from a national climate assessment to a new analysis from the University of Maryland. Researchers there created a map of cities and towns across the United States and matched them to climates they could have in 60 years. Take a look at this. At current emission levels by the year 2080, Philadelphia will have the climate of Memphis, Tennessee. Typical winters could get up to 9 degrees warmer, summers spiking by more than 6 degrees on average. Even if emissions are reduced, Philly's climate will still change, just less drastically. The scientists found that climate in Philadelphia would be more like southern Maryland, about half the temperature rise, but still warmer. That's if emissions are reduced, okay? In the Midwest, St. Louis is on track to get a climate like the area around Dallas, Texas. Winters will be almost 12 degrees warmer than today by 2080. In the West, current emissions will make the climate in Billings, Montana, more like southern Utah's. Summers will get 11 degrees warmer on average. Winter temperatures could rise by more than 15 degrees. And in Salt Lake City, current emissions will make the city feel like Northern California. 10 degrees warmer in summer, winters spiking by 18 degrees. NBC News technology reporter Jacob Ward joins us live. And Jake, I know you know all this stuff, and a lot of people know all this stuff, but one of the things that you and I talk about a lot is that the difficulty some people have in understanding climate change is that it is an abstraction. It is not something that's in front of them. So when you say Salt Lake City is going to end up like Northern California, or Billings is going to end up like Utah, or St. Louis is going to end up like Dallas, or Philly's going to end up like Tennessee, it makes it a little clearer.
It really does. You know, Ali, it brings it home, even for me, right, a jaded, cynical journalist who's been looking at climate for a long time. Yeah, it really brings home that feeling that on your very doorstep, you're going to be living in an entirely different world in a generation.
Now, here's the question. What we said about Philadelphia was that even if climate emissions are reduced, you'll still see a change in climate. At what point do scientists think we're beyond a point where we can actually reverse or fix? Can we stop? Can we slow down? What can we do?
Yeah, certainly we can do a lot. We cannot, stop the overall trend. That is a train that left the station a long time ago, and that's not getting, turned around anytime soon. But we can slow things down. The way that I like to think about it is not so much as a question of we need to do less, in that we need to sort of restrict our activities in these certain ways, or, curtail our lives. Instead, I think there's a way of thinking about it that really has to do with doing more. There is a whole new economy of localized energy production, of localized recycling, that in each of the cities you have on this map creates a whole kind of infrastructure possibility, a whole kind of employment possibility that, for me, I think, there's a lot of money to be made here. And we as Americans are not doing a great job of being motivated by the global facts, but we get motivated by money. And I think there is a lot of money to be made here.
All right, let's talk about the Green New Deal. Have you had a chance to sort of tuck into what some of these members of Congress are proposing, cutting emissions, global emissions by 40 to 60%, moving from the current 10% wind and solar to 100% over the next decade? Is it practical?
It is a practical document in terms of the logistics of doing it, right? The actual getting it done on a day-to-day basis, a scientist would tell you, yes, we can do these things. But the real challenge here is the cognitive dissonance, right? The disconnect between what your brain tells you and what your eyes tell you when it comes to climate change. So I want to show you a chart that was assembled by the Brookings Institution and also draws on research by the Climate Impact Lab. In this research, Brookings basically figured out that the top damage to counties by climate is going to take place in the places, ironically enough, that voted for candidates who don't believe in climate change. So the Southeast, the Southwest, those red states are going to see as much as 27% losses to their county income because of climate change. Meanwhile, in the north, in the blue states that haven't in the past voted in favor of this stuff, they're going to actually make money. We need to get over the cognitive dissonance of all of this.
We definitely do, and you're helping us do it. Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there and click on any of the videos here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up now.